Today we're going to talk about percentages. Percentages are a way for us to identify a part of something. It is similar to fractions, which we've talked about in the last lesson. Percentages is a part over the whole times 100. So basically we convert a fraction into a decimal. For example, 1 over 2, part of the whole. The whole is 2, the part is the 1. What we do is we multiply it by 100. This is, as we talked about, BIDMAS, order of operations. We carry out the division first, or division and multiplication, it doesn't matter. This is like saying 100 over 2, which is 50%. And this right here is the percentage symbol. It is used exclusively for percentages. When we move on, we can also use percentages to study change. And this is change percentage. This will identify if something has increased or decreased. In change percentage, what we're going to have, for example, we have something that changed from 10 to, let's say, 12. And we want to identify what is the actual change in this case. The formula for change percentage is new minus old, new value minus old value, over the old value times 100. So what's going to happen is, if it is negative, that means the difference between new and old is negative, then we have decreased. The change is a negative change, it's a decrease. If it's positive, then we have an increase, because the new is greater than the old. They use this to try to compare old values and new values. This is very useful when we talk about stock markets, when we talk about prices, when we talk about oil availability. It helps us compare, it helps us identify if we need to improve or not. One example, or the example that I used, is, let's say my new value was 12, my old value was 10, something increased or changed in price from 12 pounds to 10 pounds. I use the new value minus the old value over the old value, and then I multiply that by 100. In this case, I will have to carry out this calculation first, and then I will multiply it. The result will be 2 over 10 times 100, which in its essence, 2 is 0.2 times 100, which means that the decimal place will shift twice to the right. So my answer would be 20% increase, because it's a positive percentage. Another use for percentages, when we need to calculate a percent of something, that is, we start off with an original value. Let's say we start off with 50 or 70 apples. If we are starting with 70 apples, and I gave Michael 20% of my apples, so Michael gets 20% of my apples. How many apples did I give Michael? Basically, what I will need to do is I will need to multiply 70 by 20%, which is a 20 percent over 100. This will mean that I have given Michael 14 apples. If I were to calculate, along with this problem, if I were to calculate the value that is remaining, I could simply either subtract 70 and 14, or I could take out 20 out of 100. So there are two ways to do this. We can do 70 minus 14, which is 56 apples remaining, or I can do 20 over 100, which is a fraction, taken away from 100 over 100, so I'm left with 80 over 100 in this case. I can redo the original technique with the 80 over 100. 70 times 80 over 100 is equal to 56. I will end up with the same value. Next, we're going to talk about ratios.